Hello there. Welcome back to the Path to Better A1C Podcast. I am your host, Jenny Pena. I am a national board certified health and wellness coach, a diabetes prevention program lifestyle coach, founder of Gen Coaching, and creator of the A1C Reset Protocol, my signature 12-week health coaching program designed specifically to help you lower your A1C, prevent type 2 diabetes, balance your blood sugars, and regain your energy while also losing some weight. And that is without extreme diets or needing to be at the gym for hours a day. Now, I was not actually planning to record this episode. I had something completely different lined up. And if you follow me on Instagram or you're a part of my newsletter, you know that March is going to be Sugar Awareness Month. And everything that I am speaking about is around added sugars and how to eliminate them from your diet and just incorporate natural occurring sugars and things that will balance and provide that fuel that you need. Over the past couple of weeks, I have gotten a lot of messages. And if you're a regular subscriber for my podcast, you will know that I just concluded a four-part series on GLP-1s. And that has created a lot of follow up questions. And some specifically, those that have started the GLP-1 medications recently, they're asking about symptoms. Is this normal? Am I eating enough? Why do I feel so weak? How long do I need to stay on this? And I realized something, right? Like that while I covered during this series how the GLP-1 medications work, who would be appropriate for them, common myths, a lot of conversations about like muscle and metabolic health. But what I didn't do was walk through a journey, right? Like once you have started, how does that journey look like? So that's the objective of this episode. And today I'm going to walk you through what typically happens after you start GLP-1 medications, whether it is for metabolic health or weight loss. These are the answers to the most common questions I hear inside my coaching sessions. Now, please note this is for educational purposes only. I'm not a doctor. I am not giving you strict personal medical advice. Always work with your provider, always work with your PCP doctor. This is just so that you can have that information and go there with clarity and understanding how to approach certain things. All right, let's get into it. Now, the first 4 weeks, a lot of people ask, why do I feel like this, right? They're experiencing changes in different aspects. And most GLP-1 medications are started at a very low dose. And they have a protocol depending on which type, which brand you're using, and your medical history. That's something that your doctor, your prescriber will determine. But they typically get increased every 4 to 6 weeks, sometimes 8 weeks. And that is intentional. That is to help your body adjust to it and it reduces some of the typical side effects. So, in the beginning, it may not feel as dramatic in terms of weight loss, right? You might notice getting full a bit faster. Maybe you're less interested in food. You may have some nausea, some bloating, some constipation. And then the first big question that most people ask me when they start the coaching and the medication is, why am I so nauseous? And here's the explanation. GLP-1s slow your gastric emptying. What does that mean? It means that your food stays in your stomach for longer. And that helps with fullness. That is actually something that is going to help you prevent overeating. But it can also create nausea, especially if you eat quickly, if you eat large portions, or if you eat very fatty meals. Now, what helps? Breaking down those meals into smaller meals, eating and chewing slowly so that digestion can run smoother, stopping at the first sign of fullness so that you don't overeat, keeping meals balanced rather than heavy, and also staying hydrated. Those are typically the habits that will help with that initial nausea. If it's mild nausea, especially immediately after the injection, sometimes it can last 1 or 2 days. That is somewhat normal. However, if nausea is severe, if it's persistent, if you're vomiting, if you're having extreme symptoms, please don't wait. Have a conversation with your provider. But mild to moderate nausea in early titration, it's common. Now, but mild to moderate nausea in early titration, it's common. Now, after you go through that for the first few weeks, you're starting to notice this second thing. I'm barely hungry. Why is that? Your appetite starts to drop. And this is where people feel excited and then confused. I'm not hungry. Should I force myself to eat? That's what I hear a lot. And my answer is no, you don't force feed. However, you need to have a structure. If appetite drops significantly, if appetite drops significantly and you just eat when you feel like it, well, you're probably unintentionally going to undereat. And especially, you're probably going to undereat protein. And that leads to the next question. How much protein should I actually be eating? Because if you know anything, if you researched everything, protein is one of those things that everybody says is very important for you to incorporate while you're on GLP-1s. And here's the practical answer. For most adults aiming to preserve muscle during weight loss, a general target is about zero point 0.7 to 1 gram of protein per pound of goal body weight, or 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilo of body weight. So I'm going to give you an example. For someone's goal weight, it's like 150 pounds. That would mean you roughly need about 105 to 120 grams of protein per day. Now, that's a range. You don't have to hit the top end on day one, but you do need to intentionally add protein at each meal. Why? Because during weight loss, especially with appetite suppression, muscle loss is a risk. And muscle is metabolically protective. It protects you. It helps you with insulin sensitivity, blood sugar regulation, long term maintenance. That's how you preserve, also sustain your bones. You keep your strength and your energy. So instead of asking, how little can I eat? Because I had clients that said, well, I thought that was the point, right? Calories in, calories out. The least I eat, the better. What you need to ask is, how do I protect my lean mass? Because you'd want to lose fat, not muscle. And when you see the weight loss on the scale move very fast, I personally get concerned that most likely you are losing muscle and not fat. And it's probably because you're not eating balanced meals and you're not eating enough protein. Now, I know that I threw a lot of formulas. When I'm coaching clients, I typically tell them, okay, most of us don't eat enough protein. And what I tell them is aim for 30 grams per meal and 15 grams per snack. Aim for that. If you do that, you're at a good place. And then you can become creative, adding a bit more. But if you see yourself focusing on a meal and saying, okay, I need 30 grams of protein per meal, focus on breakfast, then focus on lunch, then focus on dinner, and incorporate that so that you don't get overwhelmed. That's an easy way of adding that. Now, here is another thing that a lot of my clients will come. I'm losing weight, but I feel weaker. Why do I feel weaker? I just touched on it because weight loss is not automatically fat loss. If you're not eating adequate protein and if you're not adding resistance training, you can lose lean mass. If calories drop significantly and strength training disappears, weakness makes sense. So that's why it's so important for you to incorporate the protein and also incorporate some strength training. And this brings to the next question that a lot of people ask me. Do I need to strength train? And the answer is yes. And if your goal is metabolic health, not just a smaller number on the scale, strength training matters. You don't need to train 6 days a week. You don't need to be at the gym for hours. A good baseline, 2 to 3 resistance sessions per week. Full body, progressive over time. And that could be body weight training, using dumbbells, using resistant bands. And if you're part of a gym, I typically say that you don't need to be at the gym, but it doesn't mean that you cannot. It really is up to you and your access to resources and availability. But incorporating these things, that is what helps you build and preserve that muscle. And remember, muscle is metabolic insurance. If you ever transition off the medication, muscle mass is what is going to help you regulate your appetite and manage glucose better than dieting alone. Now, another question that a lot of people experience, especially when the increase of dosage starts showing up, is why am I constipated? GLP-1s slow the digestion. And then when food intake drops, typically fiber intake often drops. Then hydration often drops. Then movement, like gentle walking and doing different things, they tend to drop. And what happens? Then constipation becomes common. What typically helps with that is at least 2 liters of fluid. Unless it is medically restricted, right? Talk to your doctor about it. Drink lots of water. If you are not sure about how much fiber you're intaking, measure first and then gradually increase fiber until you reach between 25 to 35 grams per day. Incorporate daily walking. That helps everything stay moving. And do not skip meals entirely. If you feel that you cannot eat a full size meal, break it down a little bit, eat a little bit less, put it into small meals, but make sure you're eating. Now, if constipation is severe or extremely painful, talk to your provider. You should not be relying solely on taking something over the counter to address it. Prevention is easier than correction. So, work on things naturally. And again, talk to your provider before you add any over the counter things. Then, after people are on the medication for several months, this is the one question that I hear a lot. How long am I supposed to be on this? And this is where social media has misled a lot of people because GLP-1s are not your 6 week quick fix. This is not something that is a patchwork sort of tool. Weight management, especially with insulin resistance and metabolic syndrome, it's often treated as a chronic condition. And a lot of people may need to be on the medication for 12 months, 18 months, sometimes longer. Some of them transition off, but some of them remain on long term. And here's the truth: if you use this time to build habits like the protein structure, the strength training, the stress regulation, adequate sleep, and staying consistent with these things, you give yourself the chance at maintaining results later. But if you only rely on appetite suppression, your intake of calories and nutrients is going to be low. Your body is going to go into starvation mode. Your metabolism is going to slow down fairly quickly. Guess what? You're going to be one of that statistic of people that tried the GLP-1, lost the weight, and then the moment that they removed it, they regained back and more. Transition will become harder if you don't incorporate this. So take all of this information and see how you can slowly create a plan. Again, if you need help, find a coach, talk to your doctor. You can schedule a clarity call with me. They're free and you have no obligation to purchase my services if you need a bit of clarity as to what to do next. Now, here are some quick rapid fire questions. I'm going to go through this super quickly so that you can get as much information for this podcast episode. When will I see results? I can come and tell you that appetite shifts often happen within weeks, but meaningful body composition changes usually occur over months, especially as the dose increases gradually. Ideally, you want to see about 1 to 2 pounds of weight loss per week, but just like every other weight loss, some weeks you are going to lose more, other weeks you're going to lose less, other weeks you're not going to lose any. Some weeks you may gain depending on what happened that week in your life. The progress is never linear. As long as it's trending down, then you don't need to worry too much about the ups and downs. The other question that a lot of people ask, can I eat whatever I want? Less hunger does not mean nutrient quality stops mattering. You still need balanced meals. Do I need supplements? Maybe. Undereating can create nutrient gaps. You have to check your labs, talk to your provider, and look for guidance you may need. Most of my clients really don't, but you may. Everybody's different. Why am I tired? Well, many things can happen. It could be low intake, low protein, dehydration, muscle loss, inadequate sleep, or something else medical. So don't ignore that persistent fatigue. Talk to your doctor, have a provider, a dietitian, a health coach, go over your habits, and maybe we can identify what are some opportunities for you to improve. What happens when I stop? And this is one that is big. Appetite signals, they're going to return. Remember that food noise that you had? They will be back. And if habits were not built, the risk for regaining the weight increases. I'm not saying this to panic you. I'm not saying this to think, oh my God, I am going to be attached to this medication forever. No. What I'm trying